This week, it's all about conventions, New York Comic Con and Essen in particular.
We're going to be taking a look at a bunch of new games, plus some of our own experiences. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm Jonathan Estes.
I'm Will Keeler, and this is the Roll for Crit podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. We should apologize, first of all, because both of us are ill.
Yes, quite.
So if you notice some coughing or we're not at 100% this week, there's a very good reason for that, and that is because both of us attended New York Comic Con last weekend, which is where we're going to start off our discussion today, and then we'll get into the big board gaming news quickly after that, which is of course Essen. But there was some board gaming stuff at New York Comic Con. Of course, we've been there many a time in the past.
Right.
And you were there, well, you were supposed to be there the full weekend.
Right.
And then the one day that I went on Sunday, you weren't there because you were sick.
Yes. And then later you got sick.
So it's just a mess all around. Basically, we're glad that we're not going to Essen this year because we would have hated ourselves. We would have been sick and I'd be in airports. It would have been terrible. But that's all behind us anyway. So New York Comic Con, of course, did not have a ton of board game stuff.
Yeah, no. There were a few number of panels. I didn't get to attend them because usually I was in line for something else.
Right.
It's unfortunately, while there's a lot of panels, usually maybe only go to a few because of all the lines. But I do know that in particular, you actually got a copy of this game. They had a exclusive there.
Yes. Steve Jackson Games, you might have heard or seen on our website. They put out a Garbage Pail Kids game. So if you don't know what the Garbage Pail Kids are, they were a parody of Cabbage Patch Kids, only more disgusting, from, I guess, the 90s, but I feel like were they around the 80s too? Probably, yeah, 80s, 90s.
They're still around, sort of. Like, if you ever look at the, packs of cards and then a Target, or you might see them there in that generic...
Yeah, they're sort of like Pogs. They're sort of like a relic
it was something I was really surprised to hear as a game.
I guess there are those collectors out there who are still...
I mean, maybe it's just because we've never gone... Maybe it does have a huge following. We don't know. We
and
apologize if we felt like we insulted.
I don't think they can take it. They're not sensitive.
That's true. I mean, it's Pale Kids. Look at that.
But I did not know until I went there. This is the game they had at the show is not actually a game that is going to see a full release. There is a full Garbage Pail Kids game that they're doing next year, and what they had at the show floor was a promo for that. I think you can now get it on their website, but I don't know how long that will last. So if you're a collector or whatever, which is basically why I only bought it because it was an exclusive.
And it was not that, like $10.
Yeah. It is an incredibly simple game. It is officially titled Garbage Pail Kids Super Snot Shots, appropriately for our podcast today. It's really gross. It's basically a dexterity game where each player has a die, 4 players max, 2 to 4, and on the field you flip one of these cards and each one has one of the horrible Garbage Pail Kids on it. Mm-hmm. And on the count of 3, everyone at the same time flicks the die and you're trying to land on the card without going past it.
So does the number on the die matter, or is it just literally they just...
Oh yes, number on the die does matter because if more than one person lands on it, then the highest number gets it. And you basically just go through the whole deck.
So why don't you just set your die to 6 each time?
Well, you flick it. You can't exactly...
Oh, so it rolls?
Yes.
Well, okay, I thought it would just slide.
No. You like this.
I did hear also that one of the reasons behind this was actually to sort of test the waters to see how this would do.
Right. They sold out of them, I think, throughout the convention.
I think one of the big reasons I have to say it sold out would probably be exclusive. Like you said, you got because of that. But I think that maybe the mechanics, people enjoyed that for a simple game. We'll see how it interacts, like you said, with their other Garbage Pail Kids game. Yes. I know they did say it was limited, but
you never know.
Yeah, they did say. I heard them talking and saying that they would maybe produce more depending on what would happen.
Also, don't feel too bad if you don't get to play it. It is a very simple game. It was fun, but
it sounds like pretty easy when you can print and fly.
Definitely, yeah. If you have 4 dice and index cards, congratulations, you own Garbage Pail Kids Snot Shots game. But to have it for a collector, it's cool, and a little taste of I don't want to. I hope it's not a taste. Poor choice of words. This is their next game to come. What else did they have going on at Comic-Con?
Well, we shouldn't. I don't have the official numbers here, but I heard it actually beat San Diego Comic-Con in terms of attendance.
Yeah.
Which is a big deal because I know, like a lot of times when we go, we usually go for the shows, the TVs. I know we've tried to scope out there a lot of gaming. There usually isn't.
There usually is not that much board game stuff. Lots of video game stuff.
But I mean, if this does show to be the biggest convention, would this make this the biggest convention then in the US?
Oh yeah, I guess so because nothing's bigger than San Diego. I know that. So, yeah.
But that also means, well, in terms of general, we might get more than like movie news, like maybe Disney then, and maybe actually the Avengers movies and stuff. I actually did go see the Shield and Daredevil panel, which was awesome, and made me really want to play Legendary with the Dark City expansion. But it means maybe you also may get more board game stuff there as well. And hopefully they'll expand the Javits Center to fit all this.
Yeah, because if they wanted to have all those panels and have playrooms and things like that. No, I would love... There really is not that much of a presence. Steve Jackson has usually been there, I think.
I feel like they're everywhere.
Yeah. And then there's usually one or two booths selling games. There was... IDW was there, and they had a lot of comic stuff, but they also had on the side Kill Shakespeare... And what's the other one? Tammany Hall.
Yeah.
That they were kind of showing off.
Tammany Hall's new, isn't it?
Oh, they're both new but yeah.
I know Tammany Hall. I didn't talk to him about Kill Shakespeare because he was busy, and the guy didn't seem to know even that much about Tammany Hall, who I talked to. Fair enough, probably because everyone's there for the comics.
But you were able to glean something.
It was like it's like Risk, but instead of just being like, oh, I'm going to move my military there and take yours out, it's much more political in the sense like. Maybe I'll have to move thugs there or something, or maybe I'll pay you off. Like you'll pay someone who's already there. Like, can I pay you off to help me vote on this or something? Yeah. So there's much more interaction and much more strategies for you to do. You can't just hide in Australia and build your army up until you can move out.
Interesting.
Did you talk to them about any of their games?
Very briefly. They kind of gave me an overview. I didn't really get into it too much. Of course, they're also doing X-Files. That wasn't there. And they did talk about Machi Koro, which is available in some places, and that's a big one. But it was nice that they at least had something they were trying.
Yeah, it's a shame they didn't have X-Files. I know I actually talked to the guy who made it at Gen Con about that game, which was really cool.
And I don't know if they were actually. I don't think they were actually doing demos. They just kind of had
no. It was really the board, and you can see it. So that's why I think they knew.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why there's no gaming things. They assume everyone's there just for comics and.
Yeah.
But I think with the rise of board game popularity, that we will see
perhaps next year.
But I think that really sums up Comic-Con.
Yeah, that was about it. It was fun.
I think it's time that we talk about what everyone's really here to listen to.
My week last week. Well, I went shopping on Monday. Let's just say there were some lines. No. That's not true at all. We're actually talking about Essen. Otherwise, actually, officially, it's Spiel, the convention that takes place in Essen, Germany. Biggest board game convention in the world, arguably. But most people just refer to it as Essen. Mm-hmm. I don't know why that is. I don't know why that happened. Nobody calls Gen Con Indianapolis. I don't know. Right, and let us know what you think. But yeah, so there are lots of stuff. So... We made lists of some of the games we thought were cool.
We should note, there were a lot of games announced there. A lot.
Yeah.
This list in no way maybe shows maybe a tenth if we're lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, going through and choosing out was really hard. And I mean, you should look up for yourself because, I mean, I know we compared lists to try not to have anything on the same lists. Just so we can give you a variety of games.
And of course, we were not able to attend. Essen already happened, so this is sort of like our preview episode we did for Gen Con, except that we aren't going to later have a review episode.
Nor mini episodes of us.
Right, because we couldn't go. But so we're just taking a look at some of the games we think sound cool. We haven't had a chance to play any of them and probably won't for longer. But before we get to those lists, there were a few big ticket items that we should talk about.
Right.
The biggest one by far is something that actually was announced last week, which was the Magic the Gathering board game.
Yeah, so as you know, Magic Gathering is a collectible trading card game, and it's been so since 1990, I believe, around the 90s. Beyond that, I don't think they've really said anything with board games. I know recently, which is interesting, I think is part of the pattern, they started doing more action figures based on their planeswalkers. Mm-hmm. And like they started branching out, realizing they have now that marketable mascots that you can use. And it's really interesting because before, when earlier in Magic, it still is in a way, but before it was actually based on stories, and like they wrote books, and they'd actually come in little packages. You can get these fat packs, came with some packs in the book, and they stopped selling the books now, but they sold the stories. But now they're going out with other things, and I think so far everyone's been loving it.
Yeah, well, they did actually have demos of it on the show floor. So to give you an idea of how the game plays, the title is not final. There's no title yet. But essentially you are a planeswalker.
Right. The whole thing about Magic is the player is actually a planeswalker. You're going through dimensions. That's how you gather up your deck.
You walk planes.
Yeah.
And actually there are 5 characters you can play as, and each one is a color.
Surprise, there are 5 colors, 5 players.
Right. So it looks a lot like it's basically a miniatures game. The board is like hexes.
Of course, they're making miniatures games. They can make more money,
right? And you move around the board. You cast spells, and you can summon creatures. So in addition to your planeswalker figure, you have creature figures that you add. And yeah, it's a competitive game, 2 to 5 players, and you're fighting over space on the board and shooting each other with spells and things.
Now, do you know anything else? Because I didn't actually see the demos yet because I pretty much was lying in bed trying not to die.
If you look up, I know Board Game Geek had a video. You can watch pretty much, we posted it on our site, a pretty thorough rundown of how the game plays.
So do you actually hold any cards at all?
There are cards that are spell cards and
now is it generic or does each
creatures
person have their own?
I don't remember if you... I'm pretty sure each guy will come with some, but I'm not sure. I think during the game maybe you can acquire more. But and then there's also stats for the creatures. But overall it's not... Like
not overall,
is. Like there are cards, but that's not the focus.
But I can see this working really well, mostly because, like you said, there's 5 planeswalkers that they showed. I'm assuming the 5 are the main ones that they use for each color. But if you play Magic, there are plenty more planeswalkers they announced. I mean, not that they're rare. They're usually maybe 3 in a set. I don't know. But granted, this 5 planeswalkers came out a while ago, so there are a lot more they've announced over the years, and that's perfect
for expansion. Plenty of room for expansions.
Yeah, you can have the Karn expansion. I'm using names, of course.
He's using names.
But it would be really cool. It would work really well. It comes with little figures. And since they come only like a 3 in a set, you're not overwhelmed with expansions, the need for putting in these planeswalkers. And oftentimes when they do a new set, they might reprint an old one. So the board game can still stay with the actual card game without feeling... like
they can complement each other.
Yeah. And maybe somehow they can interact. I'm hoping maybe promo cards or something. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know how deep that would go. But I mean, I personally was a little scared once they said tactical miniatures game because that made me go, that's a whole thing that I haven't gotten into. I'm not sure I want to step into that threshold.
I'm going to do it anyways. You don't need to.
But maybe this will be, maybe for a lot of people, probably this will be the gateway. Probably a lot of people who only play Magic might step into more tabletop games through this as well, which is kind of cool.
Another nice thing to note is that Magic's been doing the trading card game for a long time. They've learned about, and they've made mistakes about balancing. Yeah. So in terms of making a game that's probably... equal,
much more contained is what this will be a lot easier to control.
They had the experience.
Yeah,
right. So that's another good thing to point out.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, it's definitely a big deal. The Magic board game. We'll see.
We'll tell you as soon as it actually has a name.
Yeah, it's not coming. They actually said it's going to be released at Gen Con next year, so we'll pick it up and play it there. I'm sure. Should be very exciting. Other things. Let's see. Some more Imperial Assault news for Fantasy Flight that was being sold at Essen. That's the new Star Wars game, of course. So I'm distressed that people out there own it now, and I'm not one of them.
It's okay. Deep breaths. Deep breaths.
I know. And they announced a ton of new packs for that game and stuff like that, just so you know. Also, the new Pandemic Dice version, Pandemic the Cure, was actually sort of surprise released at not only at Essen, but some gaming stores in the wild that supposedly have it now. So
it's spreading like a disease.
Yeah, so that's one to look for too. So those are the real big things, and I think then we can talk about our list.
Yeah.
Of course, there were a lot of big games there that were already at Gen Con, so we didn't.
We tried. I mean, they could be.
There might be some, but we tried to avoid the big. Of course, Abyss was there. And
King of New York.
Yeah, all those games were there, And we tried to avoid also some Kickstarter games, although I think I got one or two.
I'm pretty sure I did get a couple in the end. I was just like, I have to make a list. It's too hard to avoid some of these things.
But that's where we're coming from. So
I tried to avoid Kickstarter really recent. There's some there I knew that I literally saw maybe just a little while ago.
And this isn't in an order. This isn't the top 10. It's just ones we thought.
No, you can't do an order. There's too many.
if we actually played them, but so do you want to do back and forth?
Yeah, sure. Why don't you start us off?
Okay, I'll start us off. That makes me think. What should I start with? Should I start with a big one or an obscure one?
That one. I just randomly pulling it.
All right. Here's a random one. The one that I should actually. What I found interesting when I was looking at the list was, because we can't play these games, a lot of what we're going on is just the rules and the theme and etc. So a lot of the ones that caught my eye more were the ones that sort of had gimmicks. So either like dexterity game or some kind of hidden information.
I won't lie. That's probably why.
Something with a twist to it.
Yeah.
So nowhere is that more obvious than this choice, which is Bucket King 3D. Bucket King 3D is the game where each player has little buckets, like about this big, of different colors. And they're plastic or something. And you actually have a pyramid of buckets in front of you, like 5 or 6 layers high. And each turn, each player plays different cards. And depending on what cards they play, you can attack others or defend your own buckets. So someone might play a red bucket card of 3. And if you can't defend against it, you have to knock out 3 of your red buckets.
Oh.
Sort of Jenga-esque. So the winner of the game is whoever has the most pyramids when everyone else falls down. It seems like a kind of a fun, sort of a little bit like Coconuts and Jenga style of stupid party game.
All I can imagine now is going into that game with an actual bucket on your head in a cave, just like sitting down, just staring at everyone.
That's what you want to imagine that you doing there.
Well, you are the Bucket King.
You are the 3D. So what's yours?
Well, I guess I'm going to start actually similar with a very gimmicky-ish one.
Might as well.
Which actually is not as gimmicky as the other one this person created. This one actually is made independent developer from Azrish, and I apologize for mispronouncing names. Doesn't matter if I'm sick or not, I still mispronounce it.
Bucket King 3D, sorry, published by Jolly Thinkers. Go on.
Is Kaiju. It's this party dice roll game in this little Kaiju box, and you're actually trying to roll really fast, and if you're too slow, you get marked actually with a crayon on your hand.
Really?
Yes. And if you get 6 wounds, this one marks how you die. So it's like this fun little rolling game, and the box though actually apparently takes part in it. So this little kaiju box that's on the table. I should know because I said not as game. She actually was one with literally you stack cats.
That's the other.
Yeah.
That's also at Essen, right?
Yes.
Cat Tower.
Yeah, Cat Tower where you stack cats.
Yeah, that sounds fun. And it's got kaiju.
Yeah. So I of course was like, and that's on the list.
I like more games should incorporate the box into the mechanics. I'll go on to another dragon-themed game.
I wonder which one this is.
We're going to try
because I think this is one we actually both put on the list, and I was like, I'll take mine.
Oh, yeah. So this is called Dragon Run, published by Blue Orange. One of the designers is Bruno Cathala, who makes a new game every other month, it seems. Did 5 Tribes and Abyss this year. So Dragon Run, the concept is you have just stolen a bunch of stuff from a dungeon. Now you're trying to run away from an evil dragon. So on each player's turn, you flip cards, and you can either be risky or try to take it, sort of a push your luck game. And you might make it safely out and get some treasure, or the dragon might catch you and you take a hit and you can die and be eliminated. And there's also special abilities the players have where you could heal people in exchange for treasure or things like that to protect you from the dragon. Sounded like a really funny and exciting concept. I like the idea. I like games where everyone's trying to escape from something that's controlled by the board or trying to win against something else.
Well,
it's still competitive though.
I feel I'm obliged to choose this next game because it's literally the exact same theme. It's called Attack on Monster. And you and your team of players are trying to run away from monsters. And what happens is each time a monster is revealed, you can either decide to fight as a group or you can continue running. Now, if the group, so let's say you're in a group of 5, let's say you decide to run, but the group stays and fights it. If they fight and defeat it, they get points, you get nothing. But if the monster takes out people, depending on who's left, he gets more points. So it's this fun little, do I run or try to convince people to stay and fight with me?
Is there any, how do I know what their odds of beating it are? Is it?
I think the monsters have their own stats and stuff, and depending on, but it just seems like a hilarious way to be like,
yeah. Sorry, suckers.
Yeah.
Too bad. It looks like it got you. Is there a thing with? Is this a Japanese game?
No, I don't think so. Although I will
not deny Titan, Attack on Monster.
No, I saw there were 8 things I saw that were Attack on Monster or said Titan in it, and I think it's just because Attack on Titan's popular and it's great marketing. It has, as far as I know, nothing to do in any way.
I was just wondering if that is a common phrase in Japan, the Attack on blank, because I never heard it before the show.
Though I will note, my list will reflect it, but there were a lot more. There were a lot of games. I mean, I never noticed it from Korea and from Japan and China.
Well, that's one thing because this is Essen. You get a lot more non-Western games.
And I mean, a lot of them sound really interesting, but a lot of them I didn't even put on this list because there was no one because translation there's nothing really about it.
Yeah, there isn't a
different. But they one of them was about string and you're the teacher and the students trying to screw up.
I saw that.
I mean, it looked cool, but
you literally use string to do stuff. Yeah,
but I didn't put it on the list because it was I didn't really get a good description, so I don't. I mean,
anyway, but Attack on Monster sounds cool. I'll do a quick one. This was amazing. This was the only. I tried not to, but there's one expansion I put on, which is the Terra Mystica expansion, Fire and Ice. Which is a game that I think is really cool that unfortunately we have not gotten to play as many times as I'd like.
For those of you who don't know, Terra Mystica, it's a game pretty much where you take a tribe and you have a special ability and sort of gaining victory points by sort of spreading yourselves throughout the continent.
It's a land territory building kind of game with
It's
magic.
really fun. It has definitely a different twist on. I liked I forget what it's called, the little purple.
Oh, the power.
Yeah, the power things. A few times we've played it. I've definitely enjoyed it. Definitely something to look into. And I should know, great way you have it decide first person.
Right, it's whoever last worked in a garden who goes first. But the new expansion comes with a bunch of new races, including the Yetis, the Dragon Lords.
You mean me? I call them in every game now.
I call Yetis, that's fine. And Shapeshifters, which all have their own unique powers. I think Shapeshifters can build on any territories. There's all kinds of new stuff there. So that's more of the same, but I think a big profile one.
All right.
Your turn.
This next one, I'm going to tell you, I believe it's the English name, but the title had a name which I'm not even going to try to pronounce. The name, but it's called Mysterium from iGames and Portal Games, depending on where you are. Once again, distributors, publishers, I mean. The way it works is you're all working together. One person, however, is the ghost haunting this mansion. Someone who was killed 100 years ago for a crime he or she did not commit. And it's up to the other players who are all psychics. They have 7 days and 7 nights to find the truth of what really happened. And it sounded like a hilarious concept. I just imagine the ghost player. I wonder how much he's allowed, how he's supposed to give information.
Yeah.
I just imagine them he thinks he gives an obvious hint, imagine charades or something, and just the people smoothie. I feel like it could be just a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and
it does sound really, and the name is great too.
Yeah,
Mysterium.
Haunted houses. That's always a good start for board games.
I've got a good one to go off of that.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I felt like there were a few games that were sort of in that hidden information kind of game.
Well, as we've said many times, traders
We're big on
information.
that.
It's usually.
I had a couple like that. Actually, I'll say this one. It was called Stay Away with an exclamation point. So this is actually, I'm pretty sure it's actually Lovecraft based, where one of you, the players, is the creature. And you don't know who it is, so everyone gets a card and yours will tell you you're the creature. And as the game goes on, you have to exchange cards with people, so you might infect someone else, and then they will become a creature.
This is the thing?
A little bit.
Okay, now I love it already.
Lovecraft's the thing.
I should note.
Yeah.
I couldn't help it when you said stay away, and then when you started say I thought you were going to finish with creeper, and because it's about someone stalking people, and that's why you said stay away.
The creeper game. You don't want to talk to that guy. Yeah, it's sort of like that. So that we like that stuff. How about you?
Going back to as we said, a lot of games from I said that place I didn't expect. This one's called Colors Kasune, I believe. Once again, I apologize for my pronouncing.
It'll be here. You can read it
from
yourself.
Japan brand. Pretty much the way the game works is you're all trying to build kimonos, and the most beautiful kimono to get points. Kimonos.
Okay. I thought you said kimono.
But the way it works is you get cards with colors. You bid on them. There's 12 cards, and you put them in your hand, and there's different combos out. Sort of I'm trying to think of the game. Heroes Wanted. You know how there was taglines you can be the first to capture that point. You're the one who got the 3 points for KOing.
Or achievements in Campbell's Cascade.
Yes, exactly. But the way this works is your hand is the cards. But let's say I draw the blue 9 first. There's 9, 8, 6 is 1 point combination.
Okay.
If I draw the 6, I pretty much can't get that because you can't rearrange your hand. It stacks the way you draw the cards.
Huh.
So it's hand management in a way that you actually have to think how you're going to draft the cards.
Yeah, that sounds...
Because maybe I will get this, try to go for this long one, but if someone takes the card you need, you're screwed.
Interesting.
So I think it looked like a really fun. It's simple, colorful.
I like the idea of the theme.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Yeah, and I also like it because the hand management, because it actually means you can't rearrange the stuff.
Yeah, that definitely is a wrinkle.
And technically, though, the hand is hidden too, so maybe you forget if someone. I mean, you see what people take card wise,
right?
But I mean, it's an interesting way to see.
Yeah.
And there's a lot. I mean, like I said, 8, 7, 8, 6, 7. Each color's with the
5,
number.
3, 0, 9.
There's plenty of different weird combinations for whatever with points, and there's a little point tracker using a button. So it looked interesting. It didn't look difficult with a concept that really haven't heard before. So definitely looking forward.
It sounds like a brain burner to me because I'm stupid. I'm gonna go on with another hidden information game. You're gonna like this one. This one is called Spyfall.
Oh yeah, this is one I was looking at too. But once again, I saw it was
no relation to the James Bond film Skyfall. This is developed or published by Hobby World. Basically, you're all secret agents or spies or what have you, and everyone gets a card that tells you where you are. It's just a location. So it could be a pirate ship or a spaceship. Anything.
Okay.
Could be anything. Except one person has a card that all it says on it is spy. You're the spy. So you don't know where you are. So you play the game asking each other questions and talking, trying to figure out, well, one of us doesn't know where they are, but the guy who is the spy has to pretend they do. So they have to be oh yeah, I'm or how's the weather here and stuff like that. Sort of like an improv, a who's like.
No, that's actually really, I like that a lot. It's
really funny.
Well, what's interesting is with most hidden information games is usually either everyone is equally impaired in terms of the information they don't have, or there's the one guy who has all the information, the trader or something.
Right.
In this case, it's almost the exact opposite. There's one guy who doesn't know anything, and he has to write his. This would actually be a great game for an English. You have to try to convince other people, write with details and stuff.
Persuasive argument.
Yeah, I think this is a very good game for that. But overall, it seems like an amazing game.
Yeah, I can just imagine the laughter of when you get that spy card. Just where are we, guys?
I just imagine just the questions to come up just something. Yes, but I thought you said no before. I misunderstood the question before.
Right. Because you want to, you got to find out, but you can't be too obvious. You can't be well, we're in a casino, because then the guy's going to be oh, I know. Well, you could just, unless you just lie.
Is there any,
I don't know. There's probably some guidelines. I don't know exactly
how does a spy win?
I think they win if like after a certain number of rounds or something. If they guess, like I think the game ends and you reveal, and then you say where you were or something. Totally making that up. I don't know.
I mean, still, the concept sounds fun and definitely something I do want to try with our group.
Hit me with another one.
All right. This one I thought just sounded like, I don't know, the concept sounded fun in my head, but La Isla. It's from Alia Games. Alia. But pretty much you are exploring a new island and you're all explorers and you're trying to gather points, but you're also trying to capture animals and stuff.
Sort of like Darwin-y, right?
Yeah. It sounded fun to me, but in my head I don't know why, because the game itself doesn't, maybe because it had a doo-doo on it. I just thought more of a dodo. Sorry. And then more like silly. I imagine these just explorers, like the little old British hats, just running around with nets, just chasing animals. But I mean, the game itself does look a lot of fun. This sort of like resource placement involving, like you said, Darwinian, like a new island with territory and also gathering species to get points, the right combinations and stuff. So it sounded really like a really cool explorer.
For some reason, I probably is nothing like it, but when I briefly looked at it, it reminded me of Dominant Species. But
well, that's because once again, Darwinian, you're thinking that.
Yeah, same kind of thing. Speaking of Darwinian, there's a Robinson Crusoe expansion. Not on my list, but it looks great.
Well, you should pick up Robinson Crusoe first.
Yeah, probably true.
Which we sell.
All right, let's see. Where should I go? All right, I got a couple of silly party games. First one is, I don't know how you say it. It's spelled like comics with an X, but there's a hyphen, so it's co-mix. This was published by Horrible Games, which is an amazing title for a game company. Basically, I don't actually know exactly how it plays. I couldn't find that information, but you have panels in your hand, and you add to a comic scene on the table. So it's sort of like Dixit, sort of a storytelling game in a way, and everyone's interpreting the panels in their own way, and as you form them, you get to decide how the story goes.
That sounds hilarious.
Yeah, so it sounds like a really fun, kind of creative game, and a unique idea. Like that sounds, I like that idea of making a comic.
Well, I think it's something I don't know. I really like the idea of when you build comics, because I've seen other things actually use it. Not board games in particular, but I've seen it actually used in video games where you actually build a comic and stuff.
Yeah, there was, yeah.
And I think it works really well. And I think a lot of things could take more advantage of it. Like, in particular, one thing I'm thinking of, for example, once again there's a game called Jump Superstars. If you don't know the like Naruto, Bleach, Dragon Ball, they all fall under this thing called Shonen Jump. And it was pretty much a Smash Brothers game with all those characters. But the way it worked is using the DS, using the second screen, they actually took panels actually from the comics and stuff and cut them up to fit certain squares. So you'd fit the panels together, and that's the characters you can use. So it's a really cool actually seeing panels and putting together, because the art style on the panels are really cool. And I think we've seen that also with a lot of the DC and Marvel. They're starting to actually use the artwork from their panels, which is sort of cool when you recognize them. Like, I've seen this piece before or something. Yeah. So like that sounds amazing, just building your own panels and stuff. And because also comic panels have this weird, the art style has this weird dynamic, like the way they sort of, they're in the panel, but they'll sometimes go out of it. Like, I remember, I forget the name.
Comics.
The artist. No, the artist of the guy who did the Mouse, I think it's called.
Spiegelman? Spiegelman?
He talked about how he's not usually a fan of the superhero comic, but he liked Elastic Man because the way he would actually stretch through like the panels to really show that dynamic action. And so, like,
my favorite thing is when there's like 3 panels in a row that are all like one scene split up, but you see the character like moving across it, kind of. I love when they play around with it.
All right, I think we're getting off track.
Anyway,
comics. I'll guess it's my turn, I believe, right?
It is.
My game, the next game I mentioned is Royals, not the Lord song. It's from, now I'm gonna mispronounce this terribly again. Buscapelle.
That's right.
17th.
That's exactly
Buscapelle. Anyways, the game is about 17th century Europe, and it's pretty much land control.
Favorite century.
Oh yeah, it's such a great century. But pretty much it's like you're trying to gain control in all the different countries there and stuff, and sort of a fun little political game with a nice, once again, good theme, and it looked a lot of fun. I mean, there wasn't too much on.
It's good to have a territory kind of control game once in a while with politics.
But it looked at really, well, the reason I liked it looked nice. The map was just cut off right before Russia. It wasn't that much territories. You look at a risk board. There's so many little countries here and there.
It looks more manageable.
Yeah, much more manageable. So much simpler to take on.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you the opposite of that game.
So
no, not the opposite. But an even dumber storytelling game. You're going to love this one. This game is called Mood X.
Oh boy.
Published by Plan Play. This is a game. I'm not totally sure how it works, but essentially, on your turn, you are the protagonist of a story. Mm-hmm. And either some combination of you or I think the other players tell the story about what happens to you on your turn. There's some kind of guidelines. I'm not sure what they are.
Okay.
And then at the end of the story, you have to decide what mood you're in based on the events of the story. And then everyone else has a secret dial, and they try to guess what mood you chose.
So it reminds me a lot like, what's the game? It's by the same guys who do...
I was thinking of... Do you write things like this?
Yeah, that's the one...
North Star games?
Yeah, the North Star game.
Not with a
Say anything.
Say anything.
Say anything where you try to guess, and I'm guessing that's how you do points. Like, you want someone, but...
It was something like... Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and... it sounds really goofy and weird. But
reason, I don't know why when you bring it up, made me think of... there's a thing that happens in a lot of threads. We did it called 3-Word Story, in which each post takes 3 words and you post and make a story, and it comes out horribly, horribly wrong usually.
Or even like again, like Who's Line, they do like 1-word songs or whatever. Yeah, definitely you need friends who are good at being creative and coming up with stories.
I wouldn't say just creative, just who are willing.
They have to be take participants, because I've played storytelling games before where people are just like. They don't. If there's not like rules for it, they don't know what to do.
Right.
You have to try to put a little more into it,
and that's why you have alcohol.
That's exactly why. Maybe give me another one. What are we down to? Only a couple more.
Let me see. I've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've done 6. So you've done 6.
I've done.
No, you've done 7. So I'm on my 7th. Okay. Yeah. All right. So this one, I believe, was actually a Kickstarter. It's called Journey: Wrath of the Demons from Mero Production. Pretty much it follows it's sort of based on the old story of the old Western story with the Buddhist who, with 3 other companions, go to kill the demons. Head west, I believe. So pretty much you play as one of these 4 people. Or if you're playing single player, you control all 4. So it's pretty much all these 10 quests you work together to try to fight off. And they made sure it worked really hard that it's, you all win or die, so it's not the work together, but I'm winning game.
It actually requires teamwork.
And they already have 2 expansions announced, which is nice, including I think one has a 5th player. So I don't know whether that means it can switch in with one or whether 5 people can play. But it looked really nice. It's an interesting story, which I don't think is seen a lot, which is a really cool story. Actually, like we said, I mentioned Dragon Ball. Goku is actually based off the story. This is where the Monkey Kings comes from.
I thought you were going to say Goku was in this game. I was like,
day one. I guess technically, because I think that's the Monkey. I don't know what they name him this, but I know that's where Goku comes from, the Monkey King. But looked a lot of fun. Detailed miniatures, which of course, once again, everyone loves that. So check it out.
I'm going to give you an even stupider one now. That's my theme for my chosen games. It's just how stupid can they get? This one actually sounds pretty cool. It's called Abraca. What? Abraca.
I'm liking it already. I'm liking it already. All right, continue.
What? So it's sort of like Hanabi. You have a hand. Actually, it's tiles you put in front of you. And you can't see your own, but you see everyone else's, what they have. And each tile represents a spell. You're all wizards, but your memory's not so good. So you're trying to fight each other and cast spells, but you don't always know which spells you have access to. So if you try to cast a spell you don't have, you are punished for it. So you have to try to figure out which spells you do have and cast them appropriately.
That sounds hilarious.
So that's that.
Yeah. We should note, it's on the other list, they announced their Hanabi Pocket, because, Hanabi was too big already.
Yeah. Such a weird...
And there also is, I'm not sure if it was announced there, but Hanabi Deluxe.
Yeah, that was announced a while back.
Yeah, which actually has tiles, like instead of the cards, which is really cool and I want to check out.
So that's a fun mechanic. Yeah. Give me another one.
All right. So this one is called The Ancient World. it's published by ELO or Red Raven Games, depending on, once again, it had multiple publishers. Pretty much, it's like you're in a
Yellow.
Yellow, wow.
That's the name of the publisher. I didn't just scream yellow because
he likes the color a lot.
I'm okay.
Pretty much you're in this world where all these giant monsters called Titans are there, and you're pretty much working on building your city, making your civilization, while at the same time fighting off the Titans and attacking them. Once again, when I told you I saw it,
I like that.
The artwork looked really nice. It was like, it just caught my eye.
Sounds like a good twist to the. There's a lot of city building games, but then they have to protect them from monsters. I like that.
But it seemed more. It didn't seem like horror monsters either. It's more like It looked more in my head. It looked more like Seasons, like that kind of bright, colorful. You're building your civilization. There's also these monsters to gain points from. But yeah,
I like that. All right, I'm down to my last two. I'll start with this is a quick one. It's called Coup, Guatemala, 1954. Literally.
Now, is this related to the game Coup?
Yes, it is basically a reskin of the game Coup. Only it takes place in the historical setting of 1954 Guatemala, where there's been a revolution, a political upheaval, and you're trying to get power. The one twist in this one versus the original version of Coup is that there are actually 25 different character types.
Oh, wow.
And before each game, it's not that crazy. You choose 5 of them.
Okay.
But, so it can change, or you can do it randomly, so you might not know what's going on each time. So that's a little twist. But basically, it's just Coup again. I just thought it was funny that they had this new theme to it.
Well, it's a good thing. And the 25, I think, is a great idea. Because that changes. So if you do it random, I'm the count. I have no idea the counts in this game.
Yeah, that might be a little crazy. I don't know.
I mean, I would do it if you're more seasoned so everyone knows the roles. I wouldn't do it until everyone knows actually what each role does. That's what I say. I'm the count, I'm killing you. The count doesn't kill people.
There's not even a count in this game. What are you talking about?
All right. So my next one is Ars Alchemia from Manifest Destiny.
How do you say that?
It's ARS space Alchema.
All right.
Pretty much you're alchemist working in a factory, and it's pretty much a worker resource placement when you're all trying to be more efficient than your competitors. And so you're like all working on how to make the best thing with like more efficiently than everyone else. So you can make the highest point thing, but maybe you wasted too many of your workers or things on it. So it's like a nice little balance in there. So
I like it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't have anything to add.
Yeah, I like that. There wasn't too much.
Wasn't there another Alchemist game too? It seems like a big.
There were so many games. I'm sure I missed like 10. I would put on this list.
Why don't you do your last one first? Because I think mine would be a good one to end on.
So you saw what the last one was.
That also.
Yeah, this last one. I could not resist putting it on those just because it's so funny. Lap Dance. Yes, that's the name of the game. Lap Dance.
Come back, Ivan. Come back.
Artipia. I think
Artipia?
Artipia
Games.
Artipia Games. Same guys who do Among the Stars, which we played and had a lot of fun. This game, you are managing a lap dance.
Come on, you can do it. Strip club.
Strip club. Thank you. I totally blanked. So it's pretty much you have to like try to fulfill your customers' needs, whether it be certain dancers, both male and female. Food, entertainment. I mean, it just sounds hilarious. I mean,
we'll see.
I want to know the concept when they're talking. Sitting around the table. Why not making it about building a stripper club?
I mean, hey,
I like it.
Everyone loves simulation games, right? I mean, that's what.
Now they need to make a card where you can steal a stripper if you can give that other player a lap dance.
We know. This is the simulation game. This is a stimulation game. Anyway, I have one more.
I want to know what game you chose that this leads into.
No, it doesn't lead into it at all.
Oh, I thought you wanted me to go again because this leads into it.
I just didn't want to end on that. Mine was, but I think this is a big release that's worth talking about in itself, which is Settlers of Catan Ancient Egypt Edition. So, essentially, this is another reskin of Catan. Takes place in ancient Egypt. Basically, you can play it just like regular Settlers of Catan. However, there are a couple alternate rules that you can add in. One of which is there are 10 gods, which you can gain favor from, and they will give you special abilities. For example, one of them, if you have their favor, will protect you from 7 rolls, so the robber won't hurt you anymore. Things like that. So, or let you have better trade rates with the resource deck. So that's a neat twist. The other version you can play is the Great Pyramid, where everyone is attempting. Actually, the board has a setup where the Nile is going down the middle, and you're trying to get across to help build the pyramid. And every time a 7 is rolled in this version, a block gets added to the pyramid, and so you're trying to like get in there, get your stuff built around it before the pyramid's finished. At which point the game ends. So the game could end very quickly in that scenario.
All right. Then here's my questions.
Go ahead.
First off,
I won't have the answers.
If I recall, Egypt's mostly a desert.
There's still one desert tile, and everything else still produces resources.
Okay. Second,
Like the
is
way you
there
think.
sheep?
I don't know. It's totally. I don't think it's not sheep. I don't know if it's wood, but like you're not building. You're building carts, and you're getting.
Right.
It's all re-themed completely.
We should say, which is really important, this is a limited run. They're not making this a lot. And
So-
they're not
so they
releasing
say.
it.
You
So
never
they,
know.
of course. I mean, as of now, just to keep a heads up. And so the box looks amazing. If I recall, the I've seen it actually looks holographic. If I saw it correctly.
Yeah, I think maybe. I don't know.
I mean,
I don't
we'll see.
know at
Maybe
all.
it's just Essen, but
Yeah, but the art looks really cool.
Sounds cool.
Sounds like a good twist up for people.
I mean, the God thing sounds awesome.
yeah, Cyclades plus Catan. It sounds cool.
Well, it's also assuming that they continue with this. They can actually reskin this with just Greek. Because I mean, you just get the same maybe gods or something. And maybe you then with different abilities, maybe you can mix and match.
I do kind of feel like
That way we get the Cyclades together.
I do feel like they could. I kind of would prefer if they would just put out that part of it as an expansion, as opposed to me having to buy a whole new base set. It'd be nice to be able to add the gods into my Catan game now.
Well, you don't know whether this base game, because they have different boards and stuff.
Maybe
you
does
can
change.
just still use the gods with the Catan or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Once again, house rules, you never know.
Anyway,
So this is our very, very small
that was
slice
the small list, you guys,
of what Essen has to offer.
So clearly there was a ton of stuff, and I'm sure in the weeks to follow, more news will be coming, more videos from other sites. If you want to check it out, I would recommend just looking at even the Twitter accounts for both Dice Tower and Board Game Geek that took tons of photos and stuff like that. Hopefully someday in the future we'll get to go.
But where's a good place you can maybe find some articles?
Oh, well, we'll be posting all that coverage 100% on our website, which is rollforcrit.com. And not only that, but you can buy tons of games there, and it is still, of course, Halloween month. Even though Essen has distracted us, it's still Halloween month, still October. So that means we've got another playback coming for you this Thursday, which will be Mansions of Madness. So look forward to that.
And of course, let's not forget, you can follow us on Twitter to hear about these news updates. You can get us at rollforcrit, or of course our personal Twitters, at Dorkiryu.
At Quentz. I was also at Ivan R. Hahn and at Foamy89. And
If you have any questions, you can email us.
I forgot what I was going to say.
At rollforcrit@gmail.com. If you went to Essen, we'd love to hear your experience.
Yes, please.
Maybe some games which we obviously left off the lists.
Yeah, what were
maybe
your big picks?
Some games we mentioned because, like I said, we got only a glimpse of, since we didn't actually play them. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more. Maybe some games that you really think are changing or different.
Anything.
Yeah,
really
anything.
Did you say the email address? You did, right?
I did say the email address.
He did say it.
Uh,
We're dying. And you can always leave a comment right below on YouTube if you really want to.
and don't forget
Way
to
easier.
subscribe.
Please subscribe, like us on Facebook, all that crap. Sorry about that. It was a long episode, but we had a lot to cover. So thank you for joining us. Big stuff. And we'll get you next time. I'm Jonathan Estes.
I'm Will Keeler, and this is the Roll for Crit podcast.